Hey guys, Technomentary with a video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to talk about whether the iPad Mini 3 is still worth it or not in 2021. We're going to talk about everything you need to know about the Mini 3 going into 2021, whether it's a good purchase or not, everything and much more in this video. But before we go ahead and get started, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys are in the market for one of the iPads, newer iPads or older iPads at a discounted price, make sure you guys check out the link in the description section. So let's go ahead and talk about the iPad Mini 3 in 2021. Well, the Mini 3 was released back in 2014, so almost close to 7 years since the Mini 3 debuted, and a lot has changed with technology of the hardware and the software itself. And that's why it's important to discuss why the Mini 3 is relevant or not in 2021. Well, a couple of things before we even do that is let's talk about the Mini 3, what kind of options you have. As you can see here, the Mini 3 is a small, lightweight Air tablet that we have from Apple. It's not big as the regular iPad or the Air ones, which are the bigger model. This is only a 7.9 OLED mini displayed Retina display that we have here, so it's much smaller and compact in size. If you can see here, it almost looks like the Pro Max lineup here or the newer iPhones. If you really compare it, you don't really see much of a difference, but nonetheless, the Mini 3 here is a device that's pretty much for a tablet. It's on the smaller side of it, but still does a lot. In terms of the other thing we talk about is the battery life on this device. You get around roughly 10 hours or so for surfing, listening to music, and much more out of it. So battery life, it's decent. It's not the greatest, but even for 10 hours for a lot of tablets out there, that's really good. It does take some time to charge, but once it's charged up, it's ready to go. Of course, the other feature of this iPad Mini 3 here, you're able to record at 1080p with the back camera, and for your FaceTime camera, you get around 720 pixels, just like you do with some of the generations for the iPad we've seen in the past. So for FaceTime and video recording, it's not the greatest, but it still gets the job done. Other thing you can do, of course, you can use it as a messaging tool because you're able to use iMessage. The one thing you'll notice with the Mini 3 is that you're able to get it in two sizes. You're able to get the one that's just a Wi-Fi, which this model is, or you can get the cellular version of it and pop a SIM card in so you can use it on the go as well. So there's two different options for this device. Of course, we have the Wi-Fi edition of it. Other things noticeable on this phone is you have your Touch ID that's not available on the other previous generation of it, so you got that going on. It also has that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which it's something that's been removed from the devices like the iPhone, starting with the iPhone 7 lineup. So overall, you can see there's a lot of features to it. You're able to actually get this in couple of finishes. We have here is the silver finish. You're also able to get it in gold and space gray. Along with that finishes, in terms of hardware, what kind of storage are you getting out of this device? Well, there's a couple configuration of storage you can get. We'll have the 16 gig base model, which in 2021 does not seem a lot, and we probably wouldn't recommend you get the 16 gig edition one, because after you download a couple of applications here, as you can see, the available memory that we have is under 2 gigs or so, which for some reason it's not recommended. There is also the 64 gig and the 128 gig, probably the better option if you're even thinking of getting this device at all. And talking about hardware and such, let's talk about the onboarding chip that we have. This does have an A7 chip with the 64-bit architecture. What that really means is it's sort of the older version of the chip, and hence why over time Apple develops newer chips. So with the newer lineup of Air that we're rumored to see with the M1 chip, is probably the chip you're going to be looking for if you're really looking to max out. Enough with the hardware and the physical body of this phone. Let's talk about the software of this device. So what kind of software are you expected on the iPad Mini 3? Well, in terms of software, the only thing we see here is that the Mini 3 is only able to go up to iOS 12. What does that really mean for you? Well, meaning it's 2 generations old in terms of the software update. You have iOS 13 and 14 currently, and 15 coming out later this year. So it's really at the end of its life, and we're starting to notice kind of the slowness of it. And the other thing we notice is some of the newer apps aren't able to be downloaded or compatible, especially around heavier graphic games that we see. So if you're looking for a device to play the latest games and such, probably not a device you want to get. The other thing about it is that with iOS 15 coming out later this year, iOS 12 is going to start losing any sort of support they used to give out, such as the ones that we've seen for security patches and such. So you might be getting in a point where software is not supported at all. But nonetheless, right now, as you can see here, we're able to download popular games that you used to play in the legacy application. So these games, of course, aren't really graphic heavy, so they're able to run on the Mini 3 here. And we noticed that whenever you do open up, it's a little bit slower on the slower side of the newer iPads that we have tested. And it might be fine for someone that doesn't really care about too much speed. You're just looking for a tablet that gets the job done, but don't want all the fancy hardware and paying the full price for it. Of course, when it comes to things like browsing here, you'll notice when you fire up Safari here, it does take a minute, or it takes some time to kind of go ahead and think. And when it does, even on browsing side, it's a little bit slower than on a device that runs iOS 13 or 14. But nonetheless, you're still able to browse. Once you fire it up, give it a time, have a good internet Wi-Fi connection, because it's solely this model especially that's reliant on Wi-Fi. You need to make sure you have a good Wi-Fi connection, because once you're out of the Wi-Fi range, you're not going to be able to do browsing or even get iMessage, FaceTime, or things like that. So that's aside to it. But nonetheless, things like productivity tool, if you're using it for maybe your banking, just checking Grubhub, making deliveries or something like that, even for things like video streaming, it gets the job done. Not ideal, but it does have that Retina anti-reflective LCD to it, where you're able to watch video streaming such as Netflix, YouTube, things like that. They still work fine here. Even things like Disney Plus will work on the Mini 3 here. It does take time. Again, you have to be a little bit patient compared to if you're having a newer device here. If you compare the Mini 3, the Mini 3 is probably a good comparison to the iPhone 6 and the 6S lineup. If you rank it around there, if you have those devices, if you think about getting an iPad and you're looking to make a like-for-like comparison, that's where the comparison comes in. The software itself, it's starting to slow down, sort of like at the end of life, because the iPhone 6 does go up to iOS 12. That's the similar sort of speed comparison you get when you're looking at iPad comparing. If you're an Apple user, that's where you probably compare. As you can see here, it does take a moment or so to load, but once it's loading, it does start to work. So it's a slow starter, but nonetheless, it's still an iPad that will get you throughout getting usage. So let's kind of come back to whether the Mini 3 is worth it or not. The reason why it might be worth it is if you're really looking for a cheaper end tablet but don't mind the slower speed. You still have things like FaceTime, of course, a camera that's able to record 1080p pixel, and you get the FaceTime, and you're still able to do light browsing and light gaming. You're still able to connect and do things like, even if you're using it for online classes, it's still good. But it might not be worth it for you if you're looking for a device to be a little bit faster, to be able to really crank out that speed. You probably want to go with the newer Mini, like the Mini 5 that's out there right now. That's probably what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a device like the Mini 5, of course, you're going to be paying a lot more, but you're going to be able to get a Mini 5 and be supported for the next couple of years. Where the Mini 3 here we have, it's pretty much probably by end of this year, it's going to start being obsolete device. It's going to be a device where you give it to probably for a younger kid or so, not more teen or adult type of one, because usually for teen and adults, you're looking for something that's faster but newer, that's able to launch things faster, you're able to multitask and much more. So that's our review of the Mini 3 going into 2020. 2021. Hopefully this video was helpful. We want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the Mini 3? If you updated it from a previous device or currently using the Mini 3, how has it been for you? Leave a comment in the comment section. Also, if you guys are looking to update or get a newer tablet, make sure you guys check out the link in the description section where you guys are going to be linking you guys to some of the cheap discounted iPads that you can get online currently. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.